Dust whirled in the dying light of Sundown Ridge, a forsaken frontier town hugging the edge of law and lawlessness. The July heat smothered every breath like a wool blanket. From the wooden porch of a run-down saloon, folks watched the transaction like a spectacle. "She ain't worth more than 5, said Martin Griggs, a gaunt man with cool eyes, spitting tobacco onto the cracked earth. Beside him stood Ella May, trembling in a soiled gingham dress, her face bruised and hair tangled like forgotten yarn. She said nothing. Her stepfamily's bargain had stolen even her voice. "She's strong enough to scrub and cook, and she don't complain," added Ruth Griggs, Ella's stepmother, her lips pursed with contempt. "You'll never find cheaper help." The man across from them leaned on a silver-tipped cane. Silas Brennan, the reclusive widower, watched with piercing gray eyes, unreadable behind his broad hat. Word in Sundown Ridge was he'd once been a cattle baron, until his wife died in childbirth and his son followed her into the grave. Since then, he kept to his ranch on the outskirts, speaking to no one. Silas handed over a $5 bill, worn at the corners, without a word. Martin shoved Ella forward like livestock. Her knees buckled, but she caught herself, raising her chin slightly in defiance. Silas turned away from the saloon crowd and offered his hand, not to drag her, not to push her, but simply to walk beside him. For the first time in weeks, Ella May breathed. Chapter 2. The Quiet Ride. The ride to the Brennan Ranch was long and silent. Silas didn't tie her hands like the others would have. Instead, he rode alongside her, his expression distant. She clutched the fraying edge of her skate, every jolt of the horse rattling her nose. Her arms bore the ghost of her stepfather's wrath, and her heart was no lighter. "You think I'm bought," she finally said, her voice hoarse but steady, "like a broom, or a mule." Silas glanced at her, the moonlight catching his profile. "You were sold, but not by me." She turned away, ashamed of her bitterness. "So what now? You make me your wife? Your servant?" "No," he said. "You will have your own room, clothes, food. You work if you want. You leave if you want." "Why?" she asked, disbelief choking her words. Silas's gaze didn't waver. "Because I know what it feels like to be left behind." Chapter 3. Ghosts of the Past. Days passed into weeks. Ella learned to breathe in the stillness of the ranch, the silence of the man who had saved her. He worked from dawn to dusk, but always left a basket of bread and fresh milk outside her door. He never asked anything of her. One evening, she found the courage to enter the parlor. A photograph on the mantel showed a smiling woman and a baby boy. The glass was cracked. "That's Maria," Silas said behind her. "And Benjamin." She jumped. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude." "You're not intruding," he said quietly. "They died 3 winters ago. Fever took the boy. Maria died from the grief." Ella turned. "I lost my mama when I was 9. She was the only person who ever loved me." Their eyes met, sorrow recognizing sorrow. "You were a ghost when I met you," he said, walking toward her. "But I see fire in you now." Ella swallowed hard. "You gave me more than a roof. You gave me a choice." Chapter 4. Trouble rides into town. Peace is a fragile thing in the Wild West. One sweltering afternoon, word came that the Griggs had returned, drunk, angry, and blaming Silas for stealing their property. They showed up at the ranch gates with 3 men and a shotgun. "We want the girl," Martin barked. "She ran off. Stole from us." Silas stepped between them and the porch, where Ella now stood, fists clenched. "She was sold," Silas said coldly, "and I've got the bill to prove it." "We changed our mind." Silas's eyes narrowed. "You'd best leave." Martin raised a shotgun, but didn't see Ella come down the steps with a rifle. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes burned. "You ever touch me again, I'll bury you myself," she hissed. "You sold me like cattle. You'll get nothing more." Martin sneered but saw the look in Silas's eyes, the kind of man who'd known real loss and would not lose again. He stepped back. "Let's go," he muttered to the others. As the riders galloped away, Ella dropped the rifle. Her knees buckled, and she wept, not in fear, but in release. Silas lifted her gently. "No one will hurt you again. Not while I draw breath." Chapter 5. Hearts Learning to Mend. After that, something shifted. Ella began to care for the chickens, fix the curtains, and cook meals. She laughed more, and sometimes Silas smiled when he thought she wasn't looking. They still lived like strangers, but now they were strangers leaning toward the warmth. One rainy evening, he found her playing piano in the parlor, a song so sad it cracked something in him. "I didn't know you played," he said. "I didn't know I still could." Silas walked to the piano bench. "May I?" She scooted over, and they played together, their fingers brushing. The music softened into silence. "I never thanked you," she whispered. "You don't owe me anything." "I think I do." She kissed him, not with hunger, but with hope. Chapter 6. A Proposal of Redemption. By spring, the ranch was full of life. The peach trees bloomed, the animals thrived, and so did their hearts. But one morning, Silas left a ring on the breakfast table, a simple gold band. "I don't want you to feel bored," he said, "so you don't wear it unless it's your will." Ella picked up the ring, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I've been nothing all my life," she said, "a burden, a pawn, but you gave me something I never thought I'd have, dignity." She slid the ring on. "I don't want your wealth. I just want your arms around me when the world turns cold." He kissed her like a vow. Chapter 7. The Wedding Under Cottonwood. They married under the old cottonwood tree by the creek. No preacher, just the wind, the water, and the two of them promising forever with their hands clasped and eyes locked. Neighbors came with pie and fiddle music. Even the sheriff tipped his hat. "She ain't poor no more," Ruth Griggs muttered from afar. "No," said the sheriff, "and she's never been richer." Ella wore a blue ribbon in her hair and danced barefoot under the stars. Silas watched her, smiling fully for the first time in years. Epilogue. The Legend of Sundown Ridge. They said the Brennan Ranch became a place for the lost, orphans, widows, broken men and women who needed one last chance. Ella welcomed them all with warmth and tea, and Silas trained them in trade and dignity. They had 2 daughters and a son, all with their mother's fire and their father's quiet strength. And when strangers came through Sundown Ridge, they always asked the same thing. "Is it true that the poor woman was sold for $5 and ended up a queen?" And the townsfolk would smile, true as the rising sun. But she wasn't saved by money. She was saved by love.